Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So, I'm still dissatisfied with that meeting. I'm also dissatisfied with myself. I don't know why I didn't. Yeah, when they asked, like, is there anything else I could do? I should have said, yeah, I want Alina to have a one-to-one teacher who knows how to teach an autistic child to the best of their ability. I don't know. The meeting was sort of very polite, and there was no attacking or anything like that. So I don't know. Luckily, my wife said something to that effect, and they said, "Yeah, that's why they're doing the ECHP." But it doesn't really, it just grates me with the Senko admitting that you have to use the word fail, and I'm really surprised that you used that word because when I was writing the Alina's letter, I purposely didn't use that word because I felt it was too strong. That's why I said not support, um, even though the teacher had used the word that she felt she was failing Alina. But how can you have a system where you know you're failing them? And then they were going on about that she does have one-to-one sport, but just unfunded. But and then he was talking about safeguarding, and it's really to do with like having to sit her down, or because I've seen pictures that they put holding her because obviously she'll run around otherwise. And I'm thinking how we're going to do year one when they have to sit on tables and chairs. But why don't they make obviously the Disability Act 2010 makes schools and other institutions that they have to make amendments to things. But the thing is, what do they consider, reasonable amendments? But it just seems like they don't want to take that disability, or they just can't handle it because it would be too disruptive to the other children. I get it, but is there even a place in a special school? Because it's very difficult to get into these schools. I mean, Alina was on a list when she was at nursery and never got a place in 2 years. So I don't know. I don't want her to be failed anymore. So if this school, this mainstream school, is not able or not willing, just wants to play by the book, even though they know they're failing her, there's not benefiting Alina by keeping her there. Obviously I prefer to go to a mainstream school because I didn't think her autism was that bad, and I feel it would be better for her to stay in mainstream for education. But if they can't cope or they don't have the necessary skills or won't employ someone else's necessary skills, it just seems like if obviously because it's very neurotypical and that's how it's designed, tables and chairs. I assume if they go to a special school, then they don't care about the tables and chairs, more about the education. And that's what should matter in all of these cases. Or why can't they have smaller classrooms just for the autistic children? It's like also I'm still waiting for responses. The only response I've had so far is the school. That's because the CEO of Swale brought it to them because he didn't want to answer it. And even though I've gone back to them and said, well, I am expecting an answer because I emailed the trust with this letter and they're the only ones who can make funding changes. So they at least should have the decency and respect, especially when they're failing my daughter, to at least say, yeah, well, we can't do these things because the government, not just pass it over to the school, who, like she admitted, she can't do anything about these things. Well, that's why I didn't include the school. So, and then I'm still waiting on the county council. It's been a few weeks now. I assume maybe everyone took a break for Easter holiday, not just the children, but MPs and everyone. I don't know how many weeks it's been. It must be about a month now. And no real response from these MPs, from these people in power and responsibility in education, Department of Education, Secretary of States, and MPs, county councils. And obviously, Alina isn't going to be the only child that's being failed in just this one county. This is going to be magnified in the whole country, isn't it? So I don't know. I just don't know what to do. It's a difficult situation to decide which school to send Alina to because I don't know which is best for her. it's easy to say, yeah, just send her to a special school, but because there'd be more, because there is one that's for autism, and that's making me think about that. But how easy will it be to get into that place? Obviously, with the HCP, I'll be able to name it as the place, but will we be able to get in there? Is enough place? Are we going to come across the same problems? The people that they're employing are not educated enough, but because it's not education, not able to pass on that education. Because we all know, like, we've all been to school, we all know that some of the teachers were, how did they ever become teachers? I wish, like, I always thought, when I go to these parents' evenings to ask the teachers, what were your grades? Not that mine were any good, but then that's why I wouldn't become a teacher, because I don't have the necessary grades. Even though I suppose I could take an NVQ and probably pass that, but if I fail my maths or English, then that says everything, doesn't it? I think you should have to have, for any subject you're going to teach, a certain level. I don't know if they do or don't have to do that. Usually they just have to have a certain amount. I don't know if they had to have the actual. But anyway, with autism, it's completely different. And I just worry that wherever Lena goes, she's going to be let down, because this world is neurotypical and everything is designed for that way. So even if I just don't know. I just feel sorry for Lena. She really made me sad today when I was getting her ready for school, and I was coming downstairs, closed like the upstairs gate thing. And she said to me, "Bye, Daddy." No, bye. See you next time, Daddy. And it just made my heart melt, and I cried. I don't even know why I cried, but I don't know, just because now she's using sentences, just, maybe it's not a normal term to say, see you next time. Or maybe it's just because she actually spoke to me and that got to my heart. I don't know. I just feel she's being let down by this mainstream school. From the head to the Senko to the actual teachers. There's only one teacher that's actually, that I think is the one that's looking after her now, who's really good. And since that person's come, she has made remarkable improvement. I hope this is going to go up, and that it'll be easier for Alina, because soon she'll get the emotions. And if she's being like, I was reading online that this child, who was a parent who was talking about their child when they went to mainstream school, and that the way of the school adapting was to remove the child from things. So, because they don't like noise and things like that, and lots of children, so they would like not be able to do PE, or when there's lunchtime, they would stay in the corner. And like with Alina, they got her a tent. And I just thought of it, they're saying, yeah, we've got a tent. And I'm thinking, so you're just going to put her in that tent and just leave her there all this time without her getting an education? I don't know, what do they do? But just, it worries me that it reminds me of the 80s or 90s when I went to school, the remedial classes, and how I'd only meet this friend at lunchtime. I don't want that to be for Alina. I want Alina to, for the school to adapt in a positive, not a negative way. This seems very negative, like this person was detailing. And I don't know, it's just like the other day with, like, before left term, there was a choking hazard that happened. The day before, she tried to get a screw or something. Actually, it was a plastic screw that they play with. They leave them, we always see them on the floor, and they have these little drawers, which I mentioned in the last one, and but they caught her before she did. And then the next day, she put it in her mouth, and they claimed that they had to pat her on the back to get it out. Well, the Senko gave a different example, that it was a near thing, so I don't know which was true. But I don't think the teacher would have lied to us, because, that's to have to make a child cough it out. I don't, obviously Alina has a quite good gag reflex, but so it might not have been as bad as it seemed. But for the person to actually have to tap at the back, even whether it was just for precautionary, it sends those shock waves down you that, how is safeguard going? And I question this, that, these things should be put away like they are in our houses. And they say, oh no, we want to encourage children to learn to pull drawers and take stuff and stuff. Well, not at the expense of our children's lives, because that would be a health and safety disaster if anything was to happen. And then back to school, the teacher tells us laughingly, "Oh, like because we're coming to pick the child Lena up," and then she laughingly said, "Oh yeah, it's right timing. She was just about to put a marble in her mouth." I mean, that's not a fucking joke, is it? And this makes me think of the mentality of this teacher. And this is maybe why Lena is failing and isn't succeeding, because that's not something you joke about when you had to tell us that she nearly choked. And it's your responsibility to keep our children safe. But this lady's really nice, and she's a nice teacher, and I like her. But I feel that it's like the teachers, I knew there was a teacher, a maths teacher we had, that, people used to throw the pens up in the air right in front of her and give her verbal abuse because she wouldn't be able to control the children. There's lots of these children teachers out there that just do not have what is necessary to be able to do the job to a good enough level. And so we're allowing them to fail because this is the system that we have, that I've mentioned all these things that come back to this. The system that we have, because everyone has to get money. So you have to do the job whether you're good at it or not. And we know this in all of our workplaces, the lazy people that we have to put up with all the time, and we have to carry them on our backs. And these people just do the job. I could personally myself, I can never do a job that I'm not good at because I find that difficult. And that's why if I'm not good at something, I just don't do it. But there's lots of people that don't have that mentality. They don't care about how shit they are. We hear about the stories in the NHS and the social care where people, and the videos that you see on Facebook of, patients getting beaten or thrown off the beds or abused, cadavers, dead people getting sexually abused. All these things going on around the world because these people shouldn't be at their jobs, but they've got no choice because they have to make money to get houses, rent and food and all that kind of stuff. Until we get rid of this system where it's all about money, a system that has no money, a system where those people who really want to do the jobs, because there will be no money involved and everyone will get the houses and everything, the people who can really do the jobs will be the only ones that apply for them, because the people who can't do it, who are just doing it because they need to make ends meet, will not be doing that anymore because they know they're shit at it and won't have to do it and can do something that they are actually good at. Because everyone's good at something, it's just finding those right things. And a lot of us don't get to do the things that we're good at because of qualifications and all these other things. Anyway, I've gone on a bit of a rant. Yeah, I don't know. What's your views? You people who watch my videos who never say anything, don't even like. I mean, I don't care about the likes, but it would be nice to have a comment from someone just to say what their view is, because people are watching these videos, but no one says nothing to me. It's a strange relationship we have. I would just like to know that, because there must be loads of people, or if it's not you, pass it on to someone else so that it gets to other autistic people, other people who want to change the system, the world that we live in. If it's not you, then pass it on to someone who will share it so that it may reach that person, so that we can change this, rather than keep putting up with this shitty fucking world that we're living in, and we're all suffering, we all know it, but we don't do anything about it. Take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.